Uh, so what I want you to read this chapter article also. Uh, according to this article, according to this article, there is an argument. So how you are going to manage the risk? That's the question. How you are going to manage the risk? Now, if you read here, you get certain introduction about U.S. What do you call? Sorry, Gulf Mexico oil ring company. They said that the ability of individual involved to identify risks they face and to properly evaluate, communicate, address them. If you want to run a business properly, individuals involved to identify the risk they face, you have to identify the risk and you have to evaluate it and you have to communicate to the relevant people and you have to address. Address means appropriate strategies. So if you fail to do it, the companies are really, fail. That's what this particular para says. Anyway, here in this article, we present a new categorization of risk that allows executive to tell which risk can be managed through the rule-based model and which require alternative approach. Rule-based means the management control. You just put certain rules, certain controls, certain mechanism. So thereby, according to this article, it says that certain risk, of course, you can manage based on rule, and some are require alternative approaches, different approaches. We examine the individual and organizational challenges inherent in the generating open, constructive discussions about managing the risk related to the strategic choices. Argue that companies need to anchor these discussions in their strategy formulation and implementation process. You have to consider when you develop strategy, formulation strategy and implementation. I think you can remember initial stage we discussed the strategic choice, strategy implementation, strategy formulations, etc. We conclude by looking at how organization can identify and prepare for non-preventable risks that arise externally to their strategy and operations. External. Okay, that's the theme of the focus of the paper. The paper is summarized in this para, what they are going to do. That's the basic idea. Okay, then coming back to the first point which I want to highlight, one risk category they are telling is preventable risk. Preventable risk. Now, when you take COVID, so you should have taken measures to prevent it. So thereby, you can do it by introducing rules and regulations. Rule based that risk, the spreading this particular pandemic to the community can be prevented by adopting certain rules and regulations. Even now, lockdown in certain areas, I think they are trying to prevent the further expansions, they stop. So that is rule based. So preventable risk is one kind of category. So according to this article, preventable risk is internal. Preventable risk is internal. Machine breakdown, internal risk. Here the list, shall we just look at the, get it, then we can very clearly understand. There are internal risks and arising from within the organization, internal risks within the organization that are controllable and ought to be eliminated and avoided. So if you develop certain rules and regulations, in a way you can of course avoid it, eliminate it, because it's internal, it's controllable, the risk. Examples are risk from employees and managers unauthorized. So from employees, they might do certain activities, unauthorized sessions, work, unofficial work, illegal matters, unethical, incorrect, inappropriate action, the risk from breakdowns in routing operational processes. Those are internal. To be sure, companies should have shown for tolerance for defects and error that would not cause severe damage to the enterprise and for which achieving complete avoidance would be too costly. We have to set tolerance rate. You might say this is material in auditing, material level. A material level auditing. I'm going to discuss the auditing, but I'm taking one example. When you do the auditing, you decide the material level. So likewise, when you assess the internal risk, preventable risk, you have to estimate the tolerance rate. Tolerant rates. So below that, you are not putting any attention. We know that it's a lost. There may be errors in that area, but you ignore, you understand that is inherent. But if you are trying to control that, your cost may be high than the benefits. Cost benefit effectiveness, internal controls, management controls. Can you remember the weaknesses of internal control and management controls? So thereby we are not going to introduce any control for those matters because it's not material, right? So you have to decide tolerance. That's very clear. Then, but in general, companies should seek to eliminate these risks since they get no strategic benefits from taking them. Rogue raider or an employee bribing a local official may produce some short-term profit from firm, but over time such actions will diminish the company. So even certain cases, minor matters, even though you say it's a minor matter, certain minor matters, but may have a longer negative impact, bad image for you. So thereby even that, if it is a minor, you have to stop, eliminate. That's what it says. So thereby it's a professional judgment, which preventable risks we are going to control, which are not. That's the idea. The risk category is best managed through the active prevention, monitoring operational process, guiding people behavior, decision toward desired norms, and since considerable literature already exists on the rule-based compliance approach, we refer interested readers to sidebar identify management preventable risks in live full discussion best practices here. So you may talk about this part. So here you get this part, preventable risk store. So starting point of preventable risk is the mission statement. When you have a mission statement, the value and the boundaries that provide a basic for you to develop the rules. But I'm not going to say that is the rule, but that is the base, right? Then we are having the second category, strategic risk. Second category is strategy risk. A company voluntarily accepts some risk in order to generate superior return from its strategy. You accept the risk. A bank assumes credit risk. For example, when it lends money, many companies take on risk through their research and development activities. So banks, when you banks lending, they know that there's a credit risk. Even bank lending during this COVID period, you know, the risk is there. Default rate, credit risk, default rate, so very high. But they have to take that risk. That is the strategy risk. Is it clear? That is inherent to your business operation. That is inherent to your industry. But even you may assess the strategies in different way. Now, for example, you know, microfinance lending. When banks lending microfinance, you know, they are giving small amount for many. So thereby, in a way, credit risk you may talk about low. Why? If one loan is not really performing, you are losing only that. For example, suppose you are giving 100 rupees loan for 1 million. So you spread the risk among many. One loan is, one facility value is not material. But if you are distributing, say, 10 million loan among 10 people, using the risk is high. You got my point? Anyway, what I'm going to tell you is that, so when you do a particular business, there is an inherent operational risk that is called strategy risk. Okay? Strategy risk. Strategy risks are quite different from preventable risks because they are not inherent, undesirable. A strategy with high expected returns generally require the company to take on significant risk. Higher the risk, higher the return. The managing those risks is a key driver in capturing the potential gain. BP is a particular company in the first summary, first para. It's what do you call, in the first para in this article highlighted. You have to read it. The risk, the what do you call, oil company, oil extraction. BXP has a high risk for drilling several miles below the surface of the Gulf of Mexico because of the high value of the oil and gas it hoped to extract. මේ BP කියන කම්පැනි එක යටටම සර්ෆේස් එකේ යටට යනවා. ඒකට හේතුව තමයි යට තියෙනවා හොඳ oil and gas. ඒතර ඒ ගැඹුරට යන්න, so there is a risk, but when you get it, the return is more. That's the idea, I think. Yes. Okay. Are you with me? Okay. Right. Then the strategic risk cannot be managed through the rule-based control model. That's what it says. Instead, you need a risk management system designed to reduce the probability that assume risk actually material and to improve the company's ability to manage or contain the risk events should they occur. So you should have a different approach, mitigation risk. Such systems would not stop companies from undertaking risk interest. It's a continuous risk assessment and continuous way of managing it. To the contrary, it would be enable companies to take on higher risk, higher rewards venture than good competitors with less effective risk management. To manage it well, you can perform well in the industry. That is the next one. The next third one is external risk. As the word external risk is meaning, external risk is uncontrollable. It is outside the company. For example, the COVID case is common to everyone. That is an external risk. External risk. Some risk arises from events outside the companies are beyond its influence or control, beyond our influence or control. COVID. Sources of these risks include natural and political disasters and major macroeconomic shifts. Macroeconomic shifts, uncontrollable. Just because of foreign currency devaluation and lack of foreign reserve, we have to limit our import. So it's external risk beyond our control. Just because of this foreign currency issue in the country, just because of debt issue in the country, we were able to, we were forced to limit the import. So thereby limiting import by the government decision to limit import is a kind of external risk. External risk require yet another approach because company cannot prevent such events from occurring. Their management must focus on identifications and mitigation of their impact. You got my point? So what this article says that there are three different types of risk: preventable risk, strategy risk, and external risk. All these three types of risks should be managed, addressed, evaluate, communicate by the management. But the article says that for different risks, you need to have different approaches. For example, preventable risk can be managed by introducing controls, systems, internal control, accounting control, rule-based approach. But strategy risk cannot be managed by introducing management control. For that, you need a different approach. External risk also cannot be managed in the same way. You have to have a different way because it's uncontrollable. You might heard about diversification strategy. You're not putting all the eggs in one basket. That may be one reason. That may be one strategy for external risk. If the external risk is more, you put your investment in different baskets. I took one example. So this article talk about managing risk from different perspective. So what I will do is, so I'm not going to discuss the risk part. It's up to you. You have to read the managing strategy risk. As I told you, preventable risk is very easy. For that, of course, you may introduce rule-based. Why risk is hard to talk about, another story. That part also you have to read. And what I'm telling you is that managing strategy risk. So this is a different story. You may need independent experts, or you may need what do you call, other one is facilitators, and you may need the embedded experts depending on the nature of the business. Now for certain organizations, risk is really, permanent. I think here it says some organizations, in particular those like GPL that push the envelope of technology innovation, face high intrinsic risk as they pursue long and complex and extensive product development projects. But since much of the risk arises from coping with others, with known laws of nature, the risk changes slowly over time. For this, organized risk management can be handled at the project level. So, for example, certain businesses, for example, high tech. So, risk can be really managed at project level, design level, planning stage. So that is important. Suppose you are developing a very good IT system, software system. So when you develop a software, of course, uh, you know, we need an independent expert from the development team, and the independent person is always looking at the risk aspect of the system. Now, classic example in Sri Lankan context is, I know that when they developed the Ramis, of course, they purchased from a Singaporean company, modified according to inland revenue requirement, the system. And independent expert was the University of Moratuwa IT faculty. They did the independent service to assess the risk for the inland revenue. Developers modify the system, and independent experts really they argue with the developers, software engineers. They put forward their ideas, they challenge their outcomes, they challenge their solutions, etc. So that is independent expert, right? Likewise, I think it's a nice article. You have to read it. Facilitate. Now, in certain cases, certain businesses, the strategy risk is, I would say much more, fixed, no change. For example, water utilities, water, energy. The risk is, always flat. So thereby, the facilities are important. No need to assess the risk throughout the year. Risk assessment is enough once in a way. Annual risk assessment is enough because it's not changing. So there are certain organizations like traditional energy, water utilities operate in stable technology market environments, supermarkets, etc. So for that you need a facilitator strategy, facilitator management approach. Embedded expert means if you are in the market, if you are in the business of financial institutions, the banking sector, financing sector, the brokering sector, finance sector, leasing sector, I think that is really risk is strategy risk is up and down changing. So thereby someone has to be there always. Embedded experts, embedded experts. Now you just I think you most of the you all have in experience different client places. Look at the client bases. I mean, not the small people, a small organization, established very good organization. You just look at their risk assessment story. Maybe corporate planning division. They might have a different division called corporate planning, or they might have a separate division called risk assessments or some name. I don't know. They might have a different name, but their task is to assess the risk, evaluate it, and quantify it, right? So just look at, think about 2, 3 client base and just discuss with your friends. In certain cases, there may be permanent department, especially the businesses related to the financial services. But if a company is stable and well, it's traditional, as I told you, water, electricity, utility providers. Sometimes in certain cases, they don't have a separate department risk assessments. They just got to facilitate. Are you clear what I'm telling? So just think about this story. Strategy risk. And other one is, which I'm talking is, other risk is what? The uncontrollable risk. That is, what do you call, external risk here. External risk, third category. So for that, you should have a different approach, different focus, mitigations. So there are 3-4 ways, and hope that you read this article and understand. Finally, to manage the risk, it's a matter of leadership challenge. So you should have a very good leadership. It's a matter of leadership. So you read that also. With that, article is over. And this article is very helpful for you. I think you have to discuss, you have to think about and read this article with your practical experience. Even if you are working in a small businesses, SMEs, I think if you talk to the people there, you can put this particular article into that such a places also, but there it is not tangible. But if you go to a well-established organization, in the organization structure, you may find these things, tangibility. Separate divisions, separate people, the positions, meeting, departments, etc. But when you go to a small organization, you don't get this such a structure. Such an organization structure is not there. But they may practice without in a intangible way. In an intangible way. So thereby you have to talk to the owner. You have to talk to the different divisions. You have to study the nature of the business, etc. Okay, I will share one experience which I have for a small business. It's a lending finance company. They lend money to the people. Their major tool is two-wheeler. Two-wheeler means motorcycle. They are giving finance facility to motor bicycle here. Their main product is motorbike, but they focus three-wheeler also. Now you will realize their strategies. No, anyone who is coming with three people, customer and the two guarantors. If they bring two guarantors, if the client is bringing two guarantors, they can take a bike. That's the condition. Condition is much more, lending condition is much more simple. No appraisal, no credit appraisal, no third party, no salary sheets, no official way of recovering. Official way of recovery means when you give a loan, finance facilities, the common way is deduct it from the salary. One way. So there is no such mechanism. Very open, very flexible. So do you think it's risky or less risky? I think it's high risky. Even though the strategy is high risk, the motorcycle, now it's of course, I think motorcycle prices going up because of this ban in importation. Maybe maximum 300 rupees, 300,000 rupees. So you realize that now their number of customers reach nearly 100,000, 1 lakh number of customers. They have given loan to 100,000 customers, 1 lakh. their customer base, both brand new and the second hand. But they don't have any credit evaluation, any certification. I would say it's cash flow lending, not the security based lending. Risk is very high. What is the strategy they are managing? They are giving loans. Strategy risk is managed by giving loans in a small amount. They take high risk, but they focus on motorcycle. If one customer is not making the payment, they are losing only the 250 maximum, because there's a down payment also. No, even the motorbike is 300,000, say something like that. There is a down payment requirement. So maximum maybe 250. But if they are giving loans to 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, what is the risk? In such a way, I don't think that you can give money lending for 3-wheelers and 4-wheelers. That strategy cannot be applicable. So thereby, that's how they manage the strategy risk. And other risk aspect is they don't take third-party insurance, full insurance to grant the loan facility. Just third-party insurance is enough. Another risk, they are taking the risk. The reason is that if they are focusing full insurance, the initial cost of the customer is going up. I think to take a full insurance for motorbike, at least it needs nearly 8,000, 10,000. That may be a big cost for the customer who is buying a bike. So thereby they go for third-party insurance, which is 600 or 400. I think insurance is done by the same organization. They have a a contact, a long-term relationship with a particular insurance company. They do the insurance, third-party insurance, 410 rupees. Very cheap. That's another strategic partnership. That's how we do. We manage the strategy risk. So likewise, but when you, I don't have time to explain more. I have more experience with regard to that business, but no time to give you more detail. But what I'm telling you is that other thing is when you look at preventable risk, so you have to introduce the control. But if the particular organization in the village, not in the town, very difficult to introduce internal control, because in village people, they consider as a team. They might have their internal problem, but when a situation, bad situation is there, something wrong, they don't tell it. They try to protect each other. There is some culture there. Coming in a සංස්කෘතියක් තියෙනවා. එකිනෙක අඳුරනවා. ඒ නිසා පොඩ්ඩක් all try to protect each other. Very difficult to introduce management control, preventable control, right? If the top manager is also owner, also not creating a what do you call environmental control. එයාත් අර ගමේ මිනිස්සුන්ට වුන් කන් දීලා පොඩි අයාත විදියට අනුමත කිරීම කරනවා නම් යම් දේවල් දාපු controls break කරනවා නම්, so in such situation managing preventable risk is also challengeable for the people who really involved with the management. Operational manager, maybe CEO, maybe the consultant, very difficult. So anyway, you have to think further. You have to read these two. I don't think I will take a lecture further. So with this lecture, we will finish it off, and The last topic, I'm not going to take it, but your question paper will be from all the areas what we have covered. So I will ask, please get ready, and you will have the final year dissertation also, and try to complete that also. And be careful anyway. I hope that most of you all are working at home or have received the got study leave. I don't know, but take care. If you have any questions, you just send me. And one message: if anyone who is taking guidance from me for their research, please contact me. Yesterday I was waiting for you all. I don't know whether the chartered exam also, I think, postponed. I'm searching one students who is doing this financial reporting standards practices for SME or something. I have a paper and I want to send that paper to her, but I couldn't find her. Anyway, any questions? I can give you 5 minutes or 2-3 minutes. So can you please explain the structure of the exam? Yeah, always structure means we didn't prepare the question paper yet, so it's up to us at the time of preparation. We don't know what will be the question paper. Anyway, there will be 5 questions basically. If you, I didn't do any calculation with you, but those who did calculation with other lecturers, they might put a calculation one, but focus on what we did. 5 questions from the what we did, of course. So that will be the focus area. We'll see what yes. According to our timetable, we have talked to you nature and scope of strategic management accounting. That is the first 2 sessions, I think, which I did. Strategic management accounting support the strategic management process. The basic of management control and strategic management accounting, that is done by our Sanjeevani Miss. Fundamental concept, cost and value, managing customer cost to serve customer selection, sustainability, and Chatrika Miss did a separate topic with you, sustainability management accounting also, and managing customer from customer profit to customer value, that part. Basically what Chatrika Miss did will get more weightage, and managing competitor also done by Sanjeevani Miss, another question. Anil sir did the managing corporate value and managing corporate value, 2 sessions I think he did. So you will get a question from that. And I did now public sector management accounting and managing risk, a new framework, another question. So basically you will get 5 questions. We will allocate marks accordingly. So the today's sessions I will give 20 marks question. Corporate value and also 20 marks. Likewise, we will set those are the areas. Nature and scope of strategic management accounting, the one area. strategic management support, and the strategic management process, and the basic management control and strategic management accounting. That is another area. Cost and value, customer selections, customer profit to customer value, that part. Managing competitors also another question. So likewise, you will get the questions. So that's the plan. But I don't know the structure yet. Don't worry about the structure. You just study the material and answer what to do. Okay. Any question? Right. Then, of course, take care. We will. Uh, this is the last lecture. So the final exam, full marks, 100 marks, not the no any other assessment. No other assessment. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll meet when the university open. No? What to do?